Okay, we're up to the bottom of Nun Zayin Amid Beis. Nun Zayin Amid Beis. Okay, so let's go back to the Mishnah for a second. The Mishnah on Nun Vav Amid Aleph. Second line from the bottom. Shemachinam Eina Nishpa. Shemachinam will not swear on Avodim Shtaris Karko or Hegdish. Like Shesach Eina Mishalem, and he won't pay. And Rabbi Shimon says it depends whether it's Kachim Shchai B'Chayos or not. Okay, so says the Gemara. Shemachinam Eina Nishpa. Uriminu Alessi was steer. It's mashma that there's no din of Shemachinam by Hegdish, that he's not going to swear by Hegdish. So we're familiar with that what? That on Rosh Chodesh Adar, they would send out shluchim to begin collecting the shkolim, the machzas hashekel for the kavanas of the coming year, which would commence in Rosh Chodesh Nissan. Right? That's the halacha. So now, the Mishnah here in Shkolim is describing, the Mishnah here in Shkolim is describing what would happen if they sent him and something happened to them. So we're in the bottom of Nun Zayin Amid Beis, 2 lines to the bottom. Shemechina made a nishpa. Uriminu alesu estira. B'nei ha'ir, you have people of the city. B'nei ha'ir, people of the city, and they sent their shkolim along with somebody. Shesholchu eshikleihem, they sent their shkolim. V'nignavu, and the shkolim were what? They were stolen. Oy sha'avdu, or they were lost. So he's a shaim, l'cher is a shliach. He's a shaimer on shkolim. Now, so obviously he's a shemachinam because he's going to pat himself with Geneva or Aveda, right? It's either was stolen or lost, and the only shemer that's pat the Geneva Aveda is a shemachinam, or seicher according to one opinion. In Minish Rama Hatruma, they would go ahead, they would take 3 times a year Trumas Halishka, a separation from the chamber where the coins were kept. So if they were stolen or lost after the Trumas Halishka, then Ishbayin is Gizbarim. Then the Gizbar is the one in charge. Why? Because when they would go ahead and be Tairim, they would be Tairim on the ones that are coming in as well. So it's considered in the Rishus of Hegdish already. So Memela, the owner of this is the Gizbarim, right? And therefore, they're the one that he has to patter himself with by swearing. You got the kasha already, guys, right? You see the Shemachinim is swearing, correct? The coins are Kodesh, and nonetheless he's swearing. That's the stira from the Mishnah in Shkolim to the Mishnah in our Mishnah in Azav. Them lav, and if they didn't do Trumas Halishka yet, Nishbayin lebnei Oyer, they have to go ahead and swear to the people of the city. And then what would happen? Ubnei Oyer shoiklin acherim tachteyem, and they would go ahead and they would replace them. Nimsu oishaches ksirim leganovim, if they find them after they were lost, or the ganef returns them. They both have the kedusha of shkalim, and you can't go ahead and use it for the next year. The bottom line is, what do you see? That a shemachinam swears on hegdish. Our Mishnah said that a shemachinam was out of the parsha of hegdish. That was the stira in the Mishnayos. So 3 terutzim. Omer Shmuel, hacha b'noisei sachar askinan. Here it's speaking about a noisei sachar, and really he's not swearing shuas hashomrim to go ahead and get off the hook, but nishbayim litel scharan, he's swearing to collect his wages. Remember, we have our rule. What's our rule? Any shema of the Torah of the Daraisa swears to get off the hook, right? Swears to get off the hook. Like the mixes to get off the hook, what I owe you. Shuas hashomim to get off the hook that I'm not chayiv to pay you. Shuas edis that I don't know edis. Here he's swearing a shvua to collect. So this is not a shua deraisa; it's a shua to collect, and therefore it's not a stira, because the shua over here in the Mishnah in Shkolim is to collect. It's not the shua of shua hashomim to get off the hook. Ihachi for the Gemara, if the shua to get paid, right? Nishbayin legizbarim, right? He swears to the gizbarim lebnei yemi boile. He should go ahead and swear to the bnei ho'ir. Who's paying him? Guys, who's paying him? The Gizba is paying him. What's the first case of the Mishnah? That if Trumas Halishka was done already, he has to swear to the what? The Gizbarim. Bislema, if it's Shvuas HaShomrim, And the gizbar is, and the coins are considered in Rishus of Hegdish, since there was Trumas Alishka. It makes sense why he's swearing to the gizbarim. But if you're going ahead and tell me that he's swearing to collect his schar, why is he swearing to the gizbarim? The gizbarim aren't paying his schar. Guys, good? Yes. Says Rabbi, no, he's really doesn't mean he's swearing to the gizbarim. He's swearing to the bnei Yair to collect his schar, but the gizbarim are standing there. Why? They should be choshen him. Again, they're taking a loss over here, as we saw that once the Trumas Alishka was done, right, that money's lost. So they should be choshen that maybe he went ahead and he put his hand in the till. So therefore, they're there. Simply the gizbarim are there that the shluchim should be known as poishim. Okay, so first teretz to answer the stira. What's our stira? Our Mishnah says Shemachinam does not swear. We have a Mishnah in Shkolim says Shemachinam does swear. We're answering it's not speaking about a Shemachinam, it's speaking about a Shemesachar, and it's not swearing Shruas Hashoimim to get off the hook. It's swearing to collect their wages. The Gemara of Nignu Oisha of Dukatani. V'Shemesachar B'Geneva Aveda Chiyuv Mechayev V'Hachanami Nehida Shalumi LeMishalmei Igrayu Mil Hafsid LeMishalmei Igrayu Mil Hafsid. In other words, so we have it's speaking about a Shemesachar, and he's off the hook. Why is he off the hook? Because normally a Shemesachar is Chayif in Geneva Aveda, and here the Shemesachar would be Pata from Geneva Aveda. Again, we have the Hegdish, we have in the Parsha of Shomim Ki Tinish Eliyeu Kesav Kalim, right? It says, I think the word Achiv, Reyehu, no, it says Reyehu Vleishel Hegdish. So in the middle of the whole Parsha of Shemesachar does not apply what to Hegdish. Read the Gemara Kash like this. So I understand he doesn't have Swear Shuas Hashoimim, but you're allowing him to swear to get paid. L'chayr, he didn't do his job. Normally he'd be chayiv for Gneva Aveda because he didn't do the job, and he'd have to pay. The reason you have to swear, you have to pay. The reason he doesn't pay is because of a loophole. But he should get paid. Doesn't make any sense. Why should he get paid? Guys, you had a kasha. In other words, you're telling me the shvua is to go ahead, Ron, and collect his money. Why in the world is he allowed to collect his money? He didn't do the job. He didn't do the job. On that, the Gemara answers, Amarabba nignavu b'listim mezuyim. We had this kasha a few times before. It's not a geneva, it's an oinus. It was stolen in listim mezuyim, that an armed robber came and pulled a gun on him, or some weapon. Avdu, when it says lost, it doesn't mean lost aveda. It means it was lost as a result of an oinus, that the ship sunk at sea. So b'meila he would be potter, guys. You know why you can collect the schar? Because it's not geneva aveda, it's oinus, and the shemesach is potter b'oinsin. So the first teretz again, the first teretz to the Gemara's kasha to answer the stira from the Mishnah in Shkolim to our Mishnah is not. It's the Mishnah in Shkolim is our Mishnah. You tackle off the hook. The Mishnah in Shkolim, you're also off the hook. It's not discussing a shvua of to get off the hook, a shvua hashoimim, which will be problematic. It's discussing a shvua to collect your money, which is why it's not problematic whatsoever. That's teretz number one. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, second teretz. Hamani, who's the Tana of the Mishnah here? It's Rabbi Shimon. It's Rabbi Shimon. The Amar Kachim Shechai Barchayusan Yesh Lehem Moina Minishpoim Aleim. The Kachim that Yechai Bach Rayis, and over here the Shkolim Yechai Bach Rayis, you would swear. So it's not a stira. It's not a stira. It's taka swearing Shuas Hashoimim. It's taka swearing Shuas Hashoimim, and Shuas Hashoimim does not apply when by Hegdish. But over here, since you can be chayiv to make it up, it's not considered Hegdish. It's considered yours. Again, since you can chayiv to make it up, it's not considered Hegdish. Since it's not Hegdish, you're going to have to make it up. Therefore, it's considered yours, and you'd swear on it. And that's the way we answer up the Mishnah in Shkolim. Says the Gemara, that's very good that it's considered yours before the Trumas Halishka was separated. Once it's separated, that you don't have to make it up. It's right? What's his teretz? The Mishnah Shkolim is speaking. Why do you have to swear? Shuas Hashoimim, because you're gonna have to make it up. That's very good. If you have to give the money, that's only if they didn't do Trumas Halishka. Then the Bnei Yair are gonna have to go ahead and replace it. But after Trumas Halishka, the Bnei Yair would not have to replace it. So it blibes and nonetheless you're swearing. So what kind of teretz is that? The time it says the Gemara, the Tanya, right? So this teretz that you want to give, the shvua that it's speaking that Reb Shimon is shverlich, because again, you would have to go ahead. And how could you swear a shvua? You're not chai b'achrayis, guys. Once you go ahead, the Trumas Alishka is done. It goes on the Govoy. That was already what collected. The Allah of it, that already was lost. So that is what? Not Chai B'Achrayis. So you're going to have to split the two up. It's fair to say that. So Ella, Rabbi Laza, Shua Zu Takanas Chachamim. This Shua is not a Shua Deraisa. It's not a Shua Sashimrim. This Shua is the Takanas Chachamim. Shleib and the Adam Mizalzel Begdeishois. Simply that a person should be Mizalzel what in Hegdish. So the Chayr is not speaking about Hashem Esacha, it's speaking about Hashem Echinam. Since it's speaking about Hashem Echinam, we don't have a problem with Geneva Aveda. We don't have to say it's speaking about Lista Mizuyan. It's speaking about what a regular Hashem Echinam. Hashem Echinam is not swearing at all. You're right, he's not swearing. This shvua is not a shvua Hashem. It's simply a shvua the Konas Chachamim they placed on this guy that he should go ahead and take his job more seriously. And that's not the stira at all. So then we had again. So we had the kasha. What was that stira? Our Mishnah here says you don't Hashem Echinam does not swear in Hegdish. We have a Mishnah in Shkolim that you do swear and the Chayr is Shuas Hashemrim. So it's Shuas Hashemrim. You have a stira to our Mishnah. So we had one pshat that's speaking about Hashem as Sachar and he's swearing to get paid. We had another pshat that's Rav Shimon. We have a third pshat that is speaking about Hashem Echinam. It's Rabbi Lazar, and it was speaking this Shuas at the Konas Chachamim, simply not being Mizalzel Behegdish. But anyway, in which way there is no stira in the Mishnah in Shkolim and the Mishnah here in Hazav. Mishnah said, "Noisisacha eina mishalem." The noisisacha doesn't pay. Romi le Rabbi Yosef bar Chama le Rabba. Tanan, noisisacha eina mishalem. A noisisacha does not pay. That's what our Mishnah says. Uriminu alias yustira. Why? Because it's hegdish. Hasoicher es hapoyel. Someone goes ahead and hires a worker. Lishmor es hapara, to watch the paraduma, to make sure that no oil goes on it, that would passel it. You don't want anything on it that doesn't do any work. You want to be careful. It's priceless. Lishmer es hatinok. We saw the Gemara in Sukkah that they would go ahead because they would go ahead and mitama the kohen to go be yitzim liban shel tzedaikim that at full yom is asa. We would go ahead and show it's full yom is vata. Because of that, we did tremendous milas and kochim. We had these kids being born on a rock that they shouldn't have to worry about tumas at the home. You might remember this, and they were born on a rock and so we had showing them to watch, make sure the kids stay on the rock. What a way to live your life, huh? Right? So they lived on the rock. Lishmor es hasroyim. Let's say linyan oimer. Yanan the oimer. You want to make sure to watch the oimer to bring the crop. A nice and like schar Shabbos. You don't give them. They don't take schar for not working on Shabbos because they're not supposed to work on Shabbos. So you don't give them schar Shabbos. The fikach ein achrayis shaba alav. There's no achrayis if something happens to them on Shabbos. Schar Shabbos if he's a weekly worker. Sir Chodesh is a monthly worker, gets paid by the month. Sachar Shana gets paid by the year. Sachar Shvui gets paid every 7 years. And Noisin was Schar Shabbos, therefore you would pay him. Lefikach Achrayis Shabbos alav. My lav l'shalem, that Achrayis on him is to pay. So you have a kasha that a Noisei Sachar who's being paid has to go ahead, what? He has to pay. And therefore you see that what? You told me he's Eina Mishalem. Here you see you do pay. You just said, our Mishnah says, Noisei Sachar doesn't pay. Linyan Hegdish. Paradum is Hegdish. And nonetheless, and these other things are also Hegdish. And nonetheless, he's paying. He says, lahafsit scharai. It doesn't mean to pay. It means to be mafsid his schar. He's mafsid his schar. Yihochi reishli tani enach raya Shabbos olav. Hachanami del lahafsit scharai. Right? Umi yislei schar Shabbos. V'ktani enos no schar Shabbos. If you're telling me that what enem shalim means that tell me over here the shalim means he doesn't get his schar, then what's the case of the Reisha? The case of the Reisha is what he doesn't work on Shabbos. There's no schar on Shabbos. So why are you telling me that why he doesn't pay on Shabbos? Ishtik. So because of this kasha, Rabbi was silent. So Amalei, Rabbi Yosef bar Chama said, Midi shmilcha v'ha. Did anyone hear anything about this? Did anyone hear about this? So Amalei, they told him, Hachi Yom Rav Sheshes, B'shekana miyada, they made a kinyan. V'chena Rav Yochanan b'shekana miyada, they made a kinyan. So in other words, this Shem Esacha normally would not pay. But this Shem Esacha took an extra achrayas. He made a kinyan suder that le'inyan this he's going to go ahead and take achrayas that nothing should happen. He was like Yehuda taking achrayas for Binyamin, right? He was like Yehuda taking achrayas for Binyamin. V'chein Omer Rabbi Yochanan shekana miyadai. Okay, Reb Shimon Aimet kachim shechayv b'chayusan yesh lehem ayna u'she'en chayv b'chayusan ein lehem ayna. Okay, so what does the pasuk say? Okay, the pasuk says, guys, it says nefesh kisechta. This is the pasuk of Oshem Gezelis. You should know this in your sleep, right? The guy comes, he has a claim against him. Where's my money? He said, I never got it. He swears to that fact. He's Maida. He's got to pay a Keren, an additional Chaimish, which is really a quarter, and he's got to be an Oshem Gezelis. We know this by heart. So the Lashon of the Pasuk is, Nefesh kisechta umal umal ba'Hashem, v'kichesh ba'amisai, and amisai is not hegdish. So v'kichesh, so it's speaking over here, v'kichesh, he denies ba'amisai, and it says ba'Hashem v'kichesh. So ba'Hashem v'kichesh. So now the Gemara is going to have a really interesting discussion. Tani Tana Kamei the Reb Yitzchak bar Abba. There was a reciter of Brises who said in front of Yitzchak bar Abba, Kochim shechayiv b'achrayuson, chayiv. Kochim that you chayiv be'achrayus, then chayiv v'chayiv m'noshim gezelis. So kochim that meaning that you'd have to make up, you chayiv b'achrayus, and shani koyer behen, because I call it b'Hashem, in Hashem v'kichesh. You denied Hashem. U'she'enu chayiv b'achrayuson, one that you're not chayiv to make up, you don't have to make it up, pata, you pata, shani koyer behen, ba'amisay v'kichesh. In other words, I call it my friend v'kichesh. Comes out Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba is saying two things that apparently the opposite of what we said. He said the whole din of Oshem Me'ilai, Oshem Gezelis is by Kachim. Listen to what he's saying, guys. Kachim that Chayiv Achrayis, that you're going to go ahead. When are you going to bring an Oshem Gezelis? If it's Kachim that you have to make up. Because then I'll call it what? Then I'll call it Bahashem V'kichesh. Kachim that you're not Mechayiv to make up. Let's say you say Harizu Oila, and you denied it. You swore it, you never had it, and you denied it. That you won't have to make up. Pata Shani Koyer B'Hashem B'Amisai. I call it more B'Amisai V'kichesh. So it comes out. Lord Rabbi Yitzchak Abba two things. One, the din of, but only by Kachim do we say, right? Do we say that it's you make the shua of shua? You make a shua that you swear that you don't have it. You're gonna be an Ashim Zelis. And two, rak the kodesh the yichai b'achrayis. Only by kodesh the yichai that you are chayiv be'achrayis. On that, l'chayv the Gemara has two tainas. One, it makes more sense to say I be chayiv by ba'amisai than if it's your friend's stuff, then it's kachim stuff, because you have more shaykhs. He has less shaykhs to that. He doesn't own it. Hashem owns it. So you're denying ba'amisai, you're denying him. So one that he says that Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba said only by kachim, it makes the sense by hedya too. And Sveitens le'inyan kachim, which one seems to be more kodesh? One you have to make up, or one that you can't make up? I would say one that you can't make up, and he's saying it's the opposite. So therefore the Gemara asks right away. Amalei, they told Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abba, klape laya. Klape laya means, are you going in the right direction? Ibcha mistaba. It's mistaba the opposite. It's mistaba that what? If you're not chay b'achrayis, it's more kodesh than if you're chay b'achrayis. Guys, Reb Shimon's whole taina was that you would swear on something you chay b'achrayis, because the fact that you chay b'achrayis shows you have shaykhs to it. Harei olai, I got to make it up. If it's harei zu, it's totally, you don't have to make it up. That's more of a svara, that it's more hegdish. So it's the opposite of what he said. And Sveitinson makes more sense to say that what that hedge be mechayiv more than hegdish. Because hegdish they pata from a shvua. So that's the ipcha mistabra. So Amalei, so Rabbi Yitzchak Baba told him, Asmei, should I take this brisa out? Again, Tani Tana Kamei the Yitzchak bar Abba, a reciter of brises was said in front of Yitzchak bar Abba. So maybe because of this kasha, And the way I learned Pshat in the Brisa, maybe it's corrupt and maybe it's not right. Because really, it should be by Hegdish and it should be by Nechasim that you're not Chai B'Achrayas. And now it's exactly the opposite. So Asme, should I take it out? So I'm lady told you it's like a braba. No, Hachi Kama. Here's what it's saying. It's saying the opposite. Kachim Shechai B'Achrayusan. Kachim that you have to make up. Chayiv. You'd be chayiv to go ahead and make a shul on that. Ashim Gazelos. Why? This Rabbi Hashem B'Kichesh. Because since when we're Rabbi from the word Hashem B'Kichesh, that what it's considered by Misai. Ushein Chai B'Achrayusay Potter. And one that's not Chai B'Achrayus to be Potter, the imit may be Isai, because it's not maybe Isai, it's not considered what? It's not considered your friends, it's totally Hegdish. So that's the limud. Kachim Shechai B'Achrayusan is out of the ballpark. Kachim that you have to make up is in the ballpark, and therefore you'd swear on that too. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Acha Moif Seif B'Torah Argolius Behema Ein Lehem Einah. Rabbi Yehuda was of the opinion even someone who sells a Sefer Torah or pearls or a behema, there's no Einah. Now these are all Dava Metaltal guys. These are things you can carry. So what's the reason there's no Einah? Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Omer Af HaMoicha Sefer Torah Ein Lo Einah V'Shein Kates of the Meha. It's priceless. Whatever you pay, you pay. It's not a set amount. Whatever you're going to pay, you pay. Behemu Margolius. Rashi brings, if you would go ahead, you have a healthy animal, you have two animals, one's healthy and one's not healthy, and you're going to have them move the ox goad together, it's not going to be good for the healthy one. It's like when you have a bad leg, guys, and you have a good leg, and you walk, what's going to happen? Your good leg is going to get influenced by the bad leg. So over here, this guy wants to buy another animal, and this animal he's willing to overpay. Why? Because he wants to mate it up with what? With the healthy animal, right? Margolius also. You have a precious pearl. You want to put it together. So therefore, these things there's no kitzvah to them, and therefore there's no what? There's no einah. Amuloi, they said to Rabbi Yehuda, anything could say about everything. Why are you dafka saying it by a behema and by Margolius? Rabbi Yehuda, hani chashiv, an animal is chashiv to him. Pearls are chashav to him. The honey and not all his property is lechashiv. So the ad kama, how much up until a certain point you're going to tell me there's no end in sight? So my mayor said akadei demayim, double its price. In other words, animal is worth 1,000 up to 2,000. Anything beyond that, I guess there'd be enough. Tanya, I guess bittul mekah. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda Meseir Oimer. Afa moiches sus v'sayef atitus b'melchama. You have a soldier and he has to buy a horse, a sword. Chatitum is a chatitum. Rashi says a mug and a shield. You can't go to war without your proper weapons, and there'll be no on that. I heard Shuli once mentioned an Aruch HaShulchan. He said he was looking around about Bisman Hazeh, and he had an Aruch HaShulchan in Kuf Chaf. Let me see where he quoted. Simon Reish Mishpat Simon Reish Chaf Zion. Reish Chaf Zion. He said that when these dinners of Ainah, again, he's suggesting it, the din of Ainah over 6, and he said prices were in the time of the Chazal where things were pretty much set in prices. But Bisman Hazeh, where prices are subject to so many different things. You go to a website, you can find something at this price and something, or you go to bingo and you find something for, the prices are so divergent. In that case, maybe Bisman Hazeh, there wouldn't be a din of Ainah. That's why when I went to a store in my neighborhood that said a bag of potato chips was 50 cents, it said on it 50 cents. And he said, well, we charge 75. It said on it 50 cents. I said, I wanted to tell him, you want to rip me off on something that it doesn't say the price on, but something that says the price on? I'm telling you, so I guess I was happy to hear this. That definitely was like, no, and I was happy to hear this possible. Again, the Aruch HaShulchan and Reish Chav Zion. Okay, guys, we got it made to the end of the perek. Sound must geschmacka agarata in Shas. Tonight, really geschmack today, and tomorrow in particular. Tomorrow's daf, I have a sefer chinuch to explain the Gemara that is half of a fella. I have it from all on this itty bitty card, which I'll be sharing with you tomorrow. This is Hashem. So, but until then, you have to wait. Okay, There's two psukim in the Torah. Right? This is the pasuk of Einah. There's Einah. Do not go ahead and overcharge. Do not overcharge. And now go down another pasuk, pasuk Yud Zayin. Lo sonu ish es amiso. Do not overcharge your friend. V'yareisem elokecha. You should fear Hashem. Kini Hashem elokecha. So what is this pasuk adding that this pasuk doesn't? Well, it is. You should fear Hashem because I'm Hashem Elokechem. But what's it speaking about? So we have two psukim that deal with Einah, and the latter one speaks about fearing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and obviously the first one as well. But it says about the second one. Says the Mishnah, Keshem she'Einah b'mekach u'memka, just like there's a din of Einah by business, kach Einah b'devarim. There's Einah's devarim, guys, that's going ahead and being abusive in language. Lo yomer loy. You should say to a person that you have no interest in buying something, kama chayfetz zeh. How much is this chayfetz? Hu ein roit salikach, and you don't want to buy it. You just want to pain the guy that he gets excited that he has a prospective buyer. Don't do that. If you know you're not going to buy something, don't ask the price. If the person's about tshuva, lo yomer la zocher ma'asecha rishonim. Remember the way you used to be? Remember the old days? You don't say that to that person. And who ben gerim, if he comes from converts. Remember. Shenemar v'ger lo yisaynev lo yisachatzener. Do not go ahead what and pain and abuse the ger. That's it's asa. Okay. Tanrabanan lo yisoynu ishes amisay by nos devarim hakasam medaber. Don't go ahead what and again. I'm using the word abuse. You get the idea. Don't be in your language. Be very careful how you say to somebody. That latter pasuk, the latter pasuk that we had on the screen, this pasuk is describing Einas Devarim. Maybe it's speaking about cheating in business. When we had pasuk Yudalid, Harei Anos Mammon Amar already was stated Anos Mammon. Hamani Mekayim Lasunu Ishas Amiso. Why am I going to use the pasuk of what overcharging this pasuk Lasunu Ishas Amiso? Einos Devarim. So this pasuk is speaking about Einos Devarim. Okay, Sad, and here's a little more open. Imhoyu Bal Tshuva Al Yoim L'Sachar Ma'asecha Rishonim. Imhoya ben gerim al yoim lo yisacha ma'asecha avasecha. Imhoya ger ubalul my Torah al yoim lo pesh oichel nevelis u'treifis shkotzim ramashim. This mouth that ate nevelis and treifis shkotzim ramashim balul my Torah shenemar mipi agvura. Imhoya yisurim ba'am alav. Imhoya chalayim ba'am alav. Hashem mekares ba'anav. If let's say a person has yisurim or a disease, buries his children, al yoim lo, don't say to him like his friends told Eoiv. Halo Yerascha, Kislasecha, Tekvascha, Vesoim Derachecha, Zachanami, Hunaki Avad, Imhoya Chamarim, Mevakshim, Tavua Mimenu, Layam Lehem Lechu Etzel Pliny, Shumaichet Tvua, Vinadea by Shleimacha Me'olam. So it seems to be that Elipas, who was the friend of Eoiv, was telling him you couldn't have fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He told him certain things, and by reminding him that he's speaking very in a harsh way when this guy is down and out, and he's not going to be able to go ahead to react to you, and you just left him with harsh words. In other words, you want to give him musa, right? But if all he's been left with is the musa, then don't do it. Don't do it. Very careful. Sometimes you have these well-meaning people. Something bad happens to a guy or girl, and they say it's a kapara from Hashem. They mean well, but I understand now why it irked me when people say that. I was always wondering, why does it irk me when people say it? Because at that time, all you're left with is those words. You don't want to hear that. Maybe you'll hear it a week later. You get a major bill in the mail, right? You don't want to hear right away, it's a kapara. You'll get the money together, you'll pay it, and then maybe you'll understand it. But at that time, that acceptance of that harsh language, that's begeder oinas devarim. And that's what you see from Eoiv. And therefore, I just, again, chamorim mevakshim, if they go ahead, Mimenu, you have workers to transport. Don't tell them, go to so and so, and he'll give it to you. In other words, don't bother me. Go to this guy, and you know the guy never had food in his life. Don't look at something if you can't pay for it. All these things are giving over to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And anything that's given over, that's masal leiv. What does it say by that? And now we can understand the pasuk, guys. It says, "V'yaresa me'elakecha." Look at the pasuk. You should fear Hashem. Right? You should fear Hashem. Okay. So I thought it's geschmack, guys. If you look, let's go back for a second over the Gemara. You're coming to a ger. Says the Brisa. Don't tell him this mouth that ate nevelus and trefish shkatzim ramashim bolul meitayra shenem piagvura. I was wondering, had a kasha. That's the only thing you can tell the ger. The ger, he could have done averis much more chamor than going to McDonald's, right? You get a much more severe averis than going to McDonald's or going to Wendy's or eating shkatzim ramashim or being in Thailand and eating scorpions, right? Like it could have done. Why did they pick on that? So I was thinking, Baruch Kavanti to a Pnei Yeshua. Now we spoke out the inyan of Maichalas Yisuras being mitamtein delev. We said you had great tzaddikim. How is it possible that these tzaddikim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu would go ahead and allow them to eat something that they shouldn't eat? Why is that? Because we spoke out that if you eat something that you're not supposed to eat, even if you do it beheter, even if you do it willingly, and meaning you did nothing wrong. He was a guy. He's allowed to go to McDonald's. Nonetheless, the ula of eating something like that's going to be metamtein belief. We spoke out. You remember Rav Moshe had a shaila about a person who obviously was challenged, mentally challenged, and they want to put them in an institution. And if you put them in an institution, they're going to feel the Maichalas Yisuros. So the Yisur Moshe is allowed. And Moshe allowed it, and he quoted the famous tshuva from the Chassam Sofer, who this person must have been like, it's shaykh that this person would get better if they put him in this institution, but maybe not. And it wasn't a person, obviously, who was like mentally challenged to the extent of Rav Moshe. And Rav Moshe therefore said, and the Chassam Sofer concluded that even though it's mutter, I would never put him there in a million years. I wouldn't put him there because I would never want him to eat shkatzim ramashim. That's what the Chassam Sofer said. But Moshe quoted the tshuva and made a distinction by a person who would never ever get better. This just illustrates the whole inyan of Timtum Alev. So I was thinking that that's over here why dafka that avera. The other averas get the tshuva for, but these things that they ate inevitably, right? It's going to stick with them. It has nothing to do with the heter, nothing whatsoever to do with the heter. It's going to stick with them. And here's a raya brewer to this guy. Very geschmack meshach chachma. Very geschmack in meshach chachma. Okay, this quoted in Devarim Vav Yud Aleph. I'm going to begin the beginning of the parsha, guys. It says, "V'hoyo kiviyach Hashem elokecha la'aretz." Hashem will bring you to the land asher nishba lavisecha le'avram litzuk leYaakov lasis lehem orim gedolis v'toivos asher labenisa. He'll give you cities that you didn't build. Ubatim maleim kol tuv, and you'll have houses full of good. Asher lo milesa, that you did not go ahead and fill the cupboards with goods. Ubaris chatzuv mashalechat safta, and water cisterns that you did not dig. Kromim, vineyards, v'zeisim, and olive orchards. Asher lo natata v'yachalta v'savata. Now the Gemara there says, fellas, in the Gemara in Chulin Yud Zayin, that ubatim leim kol tuv afilu kadlei de chaziri hutar, even kadlei de chazirim, which is bacon. This we always quoted Ari over here. Afilu kadlei de chazirim, you're permitted to eat bacon. So the 7 years of kibush, you're coming into Eretz Yisrael. The Gemara in Chulin Yud Zayin says you could eat bacon. L'chein Masik says the Rabbi Simcha. The next pasuk says Hisham Alecha. But be careful. You know why? Ki teva hadvarim asurim shemetantem es alev ukemoishe kosov v'nitamtem bam va'afilum oichlam beheter. So he's saying you could eat it, but it comes at a price. You're going to pay the price for eating it. Why? Because even if you eat it beheter, and therefore says Meya Simcha, if a person is pikuach nefesh and you have a choice of giving him the vela or shechting of animal on Shabbos, go ahead. Better do a shchita and feed him geshachten and meat rather than the vela. You're doing an avera on Shabbos. You have chil Shabbos, guys. You have existing the vela, or you're going to have to do an act of shchita, which is one of the Yavas Malachis. Go ahead and do it. Why? To avoid feeding him, right? To avoid feeding him something that will metamtein the lave. And that would be very geschmack. Why, of all the isurim that the Gemara could have brought in, vis-a-vis the guy, we brought in dafka that. We had this discussion before.